Every myth begins with a seed of truth. But what happens when that seed grows into a legend so vast it shapes civilizations for thousands of years? Gilgamesh, the mighty king who defied gods, fought monsters, and sought eternal life, stands at the crossroads of myth and history. He fought battles with divine beasts, befriended a wild man sent by the gods to humble him, and even went through a desperate quest to steal immortality from the realm of the flood survivor we now call the Mesopotamian Noah. But behind these fantastical adventures lies a haunting question. Was Gilgamesh merely a hero of legend, or a real king of Uruk, whose story was amplified into one of humanity's greatest epics? Let's journey into the blurred lines between fact and fable, peeling back the layers of the Epic of Gilgamesh to uncover who he really was, and why his story still matters over 4,000 years later. Imagine ancient Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization. A land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers gave birth to the first cities, laws, and written texts. Among its greatest urban centers was Uruk, a city of staggering size for its time, with towering walls, monumental temples, and bustling marketplaces. It was here, according to tradition, that Gilgamesh reigned. Our knowledge of Gilgamesh comes primarily from the Epic of Gilgamesh, an ancient masterpiece compiled from earlier poems, and is the oldest surviving major work of literature. Written in cuneiform on clay tablets, it combines history, myth, and philosophy. It tells of a ruler 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, a demigod whose strength and determination had no equal. But the epic is not only about feats of power, it is about mortality, friendship, and the universal human fear of death, and the desperate longing to outlive it. From the very first lines, the tension's clear. The poem insists Gilgamesh was a king of Uruk, a real city archaeologists have uncovered in the sands of Iraq. Yet the narrative also describes impossible journeys, battles with divine beasts, and a quest for immortality. So who was Gilgamesh? Was he a historical monarch, remembered for his leadership and achievements, or a symbolic figure invented to embody humanity's deepest struggles? The answer lies somewhere in between. But to understand Gilgamesh fully, we must explore the myth. The epic is not a dry chronicle of reigns and battles. It's a vibrant story filled with gods, monsters, and moral lessons. Long ago, when the world was young and the gods walked among men, there ruled a king like no other, Gilgamesh of Uruk, a demigod of magnificent beauty and terrifying strength. He built towering ziggurats and scraped the heavens and surrounded his city with mighty walls. But a tyrant sat upon the throne, arrogant and proud. Gilgamesh believed the world existed for his pleasure. He demanded worship, and he claimed any woman he desired. The people of Uruk, crushed under his heel, could only pray to the gods for salvation, and the gods, they listened. The celestial god Anu commanded the goddess Aruru to create a rival, a force to match the king's arrogance. From a portion of clay, she fashioned a wild man, a creature of earth and instinct. Enkidu, part man, part animal, he roamed the plains with the gazelles, a shaggy protector of the wild, innocent of human ways. Hearing tales of this wild beast, Gilgamesh devised a plan. He sent a temple priestess, Shahmat, to find him and to civilize him. For 7 days and nights, she introduced him to the ways of humanity: clothes, food, wine, and love. Enkidu was transformed, and it was Shahmat who told him of the tyrant king of Uruk. Their meeting was explosive. At a great wedding, Gilgamesh arrived to claim his cruel right to the bride, but for the first time, he was challenged. Enkidu stood between the king and his prize. The two titans clashed in the city square. For 7 days, their battle raged, shaking the very foundations of Uruk. Each blow could shatter stone. It was a storm of fury that ended in profound respect. Gilgamesh knocked Enkidu down, but instead of landing a final blow, he offered a hand up. In that moment, a tyrant died and a king was born. Their fierce rivalry ignited an eternal friendship. Transformed, Gilgamesh became a just ruler. Side by side, they embarked on legendary adventures, seeking to carve their names into history itself. They journeyed to the forbidden cedar forest to face its monstrous guardian, Humbaba, a demon so dreadful even the gods feared him. After a battle of sheer terror, they triumphed, but with his dying breath, Humbaba laid a curse upon them. One would die for this sin. Their victory attracted a different kind of danger. Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, desired Gilgamesh for her own. When he spurned her, reminding her that all her lovers met tragic ends, her desire twisted into anger. She demanded revenge from her father, Anu. The gods sent the wrath, the bull of heaven, a divine beast that brought famine and earthquakes down upon Uruk. Once again, the brothers stood together. They fought the celestial monster and slew it, a victory that sealed their fate. The gods convened. Their punishment was absolute. For their arrogance in killing Humbaba and the bull, one must die, and they chose Enkidu. A slow, agonizing sickness took hold of the wild man-made hero. Gilgamesh could only watch, helpless, as his greatest friend died in his arms. Enkidu's death shattered Gilgamesh. For the first time, the mighty king understood the true meaning of mortality. His grief launched a desperate quest for answers. He would find the secret of eternal life and bring his friend back. His journey took him to the ends of the earth to find one mortal granted immortality by the gods, Utnapishtim, the survivor of the Great Flood. The ancient man offered little hope. Eternal life was a gift for the gods alone. But there was a rumor, a plant at the bottom of the sea that could restore a man's youth. Driven by one last hope, Gilgamesh dove into the abyss. He found it, the thorny plant of rejuvenation. He had it in his grasp. Exhausted, he stopped to bathe in a freshwater lake, placing the precious plant on the shore. But as he washed his weary bones, a serpent, drawn by the plant's sweet scent, slithered from the reeds and devoured it. Gilgamesh turned just in time to see the snake shed its old skin, reborn and young, and he knew he had lost everything. In that moment of utter despair, he found a profound truth. Not even the greatest king can conquer death. He returns to Uruk and gazes upon its mighty walls, understanding at last that legacy, not eternal life, is humanity's answer to mortality. If the myth gives us the flesh, archaeology provides the bones. Let us consider the historical record, the Sumerian king list, an ancient document that mixes real dynasties with mythical embellishments, names Gilgamesh as the 5th king of Uruk. It attributes to him a reign of 126 years, a clearly impossible lifespan, but one that signals he was remembered as more than an invention. His name was preserved alongside rulers we know to have existed. Archaeological evidence strengthens this case. Excavations at Uruk reveal massive walls stretching nearly 6 miles, enclosing an area of around 1,000 acres. These fortifications were so renowned that the epic itself urges readers to climb the walls of Uruk and admire their greatness. Whether or not Gilgamesh personally ordered their construction, the connection between his legend and Uruk's real grandeur is difficult to dismiss. There are also temple ruins that point to a complex society, one in which a king like Gilgamesh would have played both political and religious roles. In early Mesopotamia, kingship was not just governance, it was divine stewardship. A ruler was seen as chosen by the gods, charged with maintaining order, building temples, and protecting the people. If we strip away the exaggerations, Gilgamesh may have been precisely this, a powerful ruler whose reign left such a mark on his people that memory transformed them into something greater. How then should we understand Gilgamesh? Scholars propose the concept of a historical myth. At its core lies a real ruler, a king of Uruk whose reign was remembered for centuries. Around him, generations of storytellers wove threads of legend, shaping him into a hero, a demigod, a seeker of truth. This process is not unique to Mesopotamia. Consider King Arthur in Britain, whose historical basis is uncertain, but whose legend inspired centuries of literature. Or Hercules in Greece, perhaps once a man, transformed into a godlike figure through myth. Gilgamesh is the prototype of this phenomenon, the earliest and most enduring case of a man elevated into myth. The epic's enduring power lies not in its historical accuracy, but in its exploration of universal themes. The arrogance of power, the bonds of friendship, the inevitability of death, and the search of meaning. These are struggles every generation faces. The tale does not resolve them, but it compels us to reflect on them. Gilgamesh's failure to achieve immortality is, paradoxically, what makes his story immortal. By confronting the limits of human existence, he becomes a mirror of our own mortality. By accepting that legacy is the only true eternity, he reminds us that stories, cities, and ideas can outlast flesh. So, was Gilgamesh real? Ancient tradition holds that a king by that name ruled Uruk in the early dynastic period, yet the Gilgamesh we know, the slayer of monsters, the challenger of gods, the seeker of eternal life, is a creation of myth. Perhaps the true answer lies in embracing both sides. Gilgamesh was real enough to leave his name on ancient records and his city's ruins, but he was also myth reshaped by storytellers into a timeless figure whose struggles echo across cultures and ages. What makes his story endure is the questions it forces us to ask. What does it mean to live well, knowing death awaits? How do we find meaning when eternity is denied to us? And how do we ensure our names, like Gilgamesh's, are remembered long after we are gone? And now the question passes to you. Do you believe Gilgamesh was a man, a myth, or something in between? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know which story into the enigmas of history you'd like us to tell next.